Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Cafe. And I am so excited for today's guest. We are going to have an incredible coffee conversation. So I am so excited to introduce you to Sweety. Sweety is I there are no words that can properly describe it. So I am going to share with you her bio to give you the full rundown. So Sweety has over 12 years of experience in the omni-channel strategy development, brand management, digital marketing, and retail marketing space. So you've touched on a little bit of everything from creatively rolling out brands to new international markets to launching new products within existing markets. Ghuman has developed and integrated strategies that put customers at the forefront of every idea, decision, and interaction. As a customer, I love to hear that. Sweety's greatest strengths are her creativity, drive, and leadership, and she is currently the director of brand marketing at Charlotte Tilbury and specializes in developing and executing integrated marketing strategies that drive brand awareness, engagement, and sales. You do a little bit of it all. I love it. You also have an incredible background, which is the first thing that we are going to dive into today. So, you have managed luxury and trend makeup brands, including Dior, Armani, YSL, Prada, Patrick Ta, and One Size at Sephora. During this time, you oversaw a full funnel marketing strategy that resulted in significant Y over Y client growth. That is incredible. And prior to that, you were at Gap. So you went from the makeup world to the retail side. You are also have had an incredible footprint in growing across different countries. And finally, Sweetie was also integral. She was an integral member at 42S Strategic Communications Team, managing public relations and international branding campaigns with varied clientele. Now, this is an impressive Rolodex you have here, including Rihanna, Alicia Keys, Pharrell times Adidas, Uniqlo, Michael Kors, Fox Consumer Products, Sony, and Crackle.com.
My
I
gosh,
also share all of that because we are going to dive into your incredible career. But thank you so much for being here.
of course. Hearing it all back to back like that, oh my gosh. I'm like, is that me? That's wild.
You're like, do I need a nap? Do I need a coffee? It's okay. This is a coffee conversation. So if you need a coffee,
Yeah.
you're in the right place. So you have had such an incredible career spanning across so many different industries. And hearing that back, can you kind of share what that journey has been like?
Honestly, hearing that back, what comes to mind, first thought is that wasn't supposed to be me. Like that, that girl was just not. If you told a 14-year-old version of me, she wouldn't have believed you that that bio is about her. I had all the stacks, all the odds stacks against me. Truly, I'm from an immigrant family. I didn't grow up with anybody in the white collar world. So just hearing all that back really just makes me grateful for all the mentors that helped guide me through. Because not only did I get in those doors, but then was able to jump and pivot and kind of carve my own place into them. And telling you, it wasn't an easy journey, but I'm glad I got here.
That is incredible. And it's, yeah, isn't that crazy? Like we look back and it's better than we ever could have expected, but also so different than we could have imagined, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I swear, I told my parents when I was like 15 or 14, if I just have a job that can pay rent, like that's okay. Like I'll just do a regular desk job, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Can you talk a little bit to whatever extent you're comfortable? You mentioned you come from an immigrant family, and so that's a different roadmap, right? You kind of had a different lifestyle growing up in a different, like you said, nobody worked in a white collar job. So being where you are now, you didn't have right in front of you a lot of those role models that many people do. What was that like? And then also, how did you get your first foot in the
Yeah, yeah, great question. I actually fair low vulnerability, if I'm honest. Because again, I didn't know anybody in corporate America. My dad's a mechanical engineer. My mom was a school teacher, but when they moved to the States, nothing counted. Like their degrees didn't count, so they had to start from scratch. Definitely didn't work in a corporate setting here. So I actually got my first start by chance. There was a job board while I was in college. I was the only one that didn't have a job lined up post college, and I just blind applied to everything, and I ended up in 42S, which is an amazing company. And while I was in the company, I kind of just had a moment of vulnerability with my boss. About 4 months in, I basically asked for mentorship. Did
Mm.
not wait for it. I knocked on her door. I walked in. I was like, this is really uncomfortable for me, but hopefully it's okay for me to be vulnerable. Do you mind if I just use you as a mentor, learn, just learn from you directly, even if I'm not participating in the rooms, can I be in the rooms with you just to hear and understand how decisions are made? And she took me under her wing. I've talked to her about it after that, and it's funny, her perspective versus my perspective. I was mortified. I was so shy, and I was like, I can't believe I have to ask for help, and I feel like it's so unprofessional. But I just have to do it, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to survive. Like I just don't understand, the
Hmm.
nuances of things. And the way she tells it, she was like, that was the first that's when I knew you had a growth mindset, and we don't find that a lot in corporate America. And she said, that was my biggest green flag ever, is you were vulnerable, you did ask for help, and you were eager to learn. And I've kind of echoed that throughout my career. I think the further I've gone along, the more I realize a growth mindset is the best way to navigate things. It's not about knowing things, it's about approaching things with, I don't know it yet, but I'm going to
Hmm.
figure it out. And truly, that's what got me where I am. Asking questions, raising my hand, being comfortable saying, I don't understand this. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into more. And if there isn't formal mentorship, asking someone after observing for a few months, is this the career path I want to take? Is this the direction I want? Is this the type of leader I want to emulate? And just asking them, just asking.
And it's also cool because when you're in that position of watching them and asking them and just being able to observe and take it all in, you learn, as you just said at the tail end of that, both what you want to take away from what they're doing and other things where you're like, I never want to be that
Yes.
person or do that thing or say or react in that way, which is also a biggest part of the learning experience.
100%, 100%. And that's the part, that's honestly the part about corporate America that's not talked about.
Yeah.
It's not over. You can learn Excel, you can learn how to read traffic, you can learn how to look at pre and post analysis, but the nuances, that's the important stuff you don't learn just overtly. And I know this is a cliche, but people don't remember what you say, but they remember how they made you feel. And I think
Mhm.
mentorship is a really important part of how you make someone feel. And anywhere you go in corporate America, I think it's a really important quality to keep.
And it's one of those things too, you can't learn that in a classroom, right? Like no one can sit down with you. And I've thought about it too, as I've had like interns sit with me and I'm like, I wish I could teach you this, but I know you just have to learn it by your own trial and error. And part of, I'm sure what also accelerated your career is at such a young age, being willing, and so early in your career, being willing to say like, hey, I don't know this, I want to. And what are some other big like moments and steps and milestones where you look back and you're like, that is what helped me make the jump to the next level? Because I get a lot of questions from women and they're like, okay, how do I get into the executive roles? How do I get into the C-suite spots? Because there are so few women in these places. And so entering those rooms and asking these questions, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one really important thing I like to point out to people is that a mentorship mentee experience actually lies in the mentee's hands. It's
Hmm.
not as much as we think as a mentor. It's up to you as the mentee to make it what it is. You ask the questions, you ask to enter rooms. I think a level of vulnerability we just don't talk about. And a mentor is only as good as you shape that relationship. So you have to show that hunger and eagerness and growth. And I think that's something I also learned over time. It's not my default nature to do that. It is now, but early in my career it was not. And it was truly when I finally understood I am in charge of that. I'm in charge of setting up regular TBs and showing up to those TBs with a list of questions, asking how you made certain decisions. Because again, mentors can be so further along. They don't know what we don't know. As a mentee, they don't know what you're trying to understand, what part of your journey you're on. So it really is on you. And that's the best piece of advice I can ever give is follow up, chase them. They do not mind it. Create the agendas because it is on you to shape that relationship. I think the other big advice I would also have, especially when you go into the C-suite world, um, homework. Now, I'm not
Okay, tell us
saying,
more.
yeah, I'm not saying, spend 14, 16 hours of your day just centered around like how to become the next C-suite person. But I will say carve out a moment of your day to do your own learning. Like I am the number one fan of LinkedIn Learning. or any of the Udemy is also a thing. Like take a course on something that you might be interested in on your own time. So do some homework on your own time. Again, I'm also a huge proponent of work-life balance, so I'm not saying like work yourself to the bone and figure it out and give yourself your own MBA, but do take initiative. Do
Yeah.
take some initiative and try to do learning on your own side. So when you are going into these rooms, you're dissecting things a bit further and you feel more comfortable raising your hand and contributing.
I think that's fantastic because I hear it a lot and people are like, well, why am I going to give back to a career? Well, you're not necessarily giving it back to your company. If you need to like reframe that mindset, you're doing it for you. And that's where it's funny. I have a niece and nephew who are in high school and they're like, well, I don't want to do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, you're not doing it for your teachers. You're not doing it for school. You're doing it for you. And so there's like that mindset shift that so many of us have to have where it's like, no, I am going to sit down and take this Udemy course, or, I am going to go for a walk and listen to this podcast about negotiation or LinkedIn branding, whatever it might be. And it's like taking that time, the dividends it pays are exponential.
It's such a beautiful point you're making because it's about personal growth at the end of the day. And I understand there is kind of this angst against corporate America,
Yep.
right? Like I can completely understand it. But again, how do you utilize those benefits that you're being given? Because a lot of these companies will pay for Udemy, will pay for LinkedIn Learning. And to your point, once you pivot it as about personal growth, which is versus something giving to a corporation, it
Mhm.
changes the ball game. It makes you excited to learn because you're learning for yourself. You're not learning to be graded or to be, anything else. So it's a beautiful point you're making. Your niece and nephew are very lucky. You have them guiding them, telling them these things.
I hope in like 10 to 15 years they look back and they're like, oh, that's why she said it. Right now, not so much. It's okay. It's fine. One day they'll realize.
Wait for the frontal lobe to be developed and then it all sinks in. It all
Yeah.
sinks in after 25.
Exactly. All right, so we have a decade to go, but that's okay. I can wait. I've got plenty of time. But it's interesting too, talking about this whole concept of learning. So you switched industries many times and had all these different roles. How did you, or what did you do to help you learn and prepare to step into these new industries?
I I honestly, I did a lot of coffee chats. I think my first big pivot was going from PR to Gap Inc. So I was
Mhm.
working at an agency, as you mentioned, and it was an entertainment agency, and then going to Gap Inc., Old Navy Athleta, huge switch, huge switch. And it all started from a coffee chat with, I won't name her just in case she's not comfortable with that, but I talk to her till this day. I thank her about my career trajectory all the time, and it all started with a coffee chat. She didn't even have a role open, but
Mhm.
I admired the company. I really liked Old Navy. I grew up in the Bay Area and it's been there for 20 years. So I just reached out and I asked, like, hey, I'm really interested in pivoting into the retail world. I want to leave the agency world. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to pick apart what's important. And sometimes you hit the jackpot with kind people at coffee chats. And she sat there and walked me through my resume and was like, here are the things you should highlight. Here are the things that are important. And then we just kind of kept in touch. I didn't always talk to her about work. I would reach out about like a funny show or I think authenticity is really important with coffee chats. And once you feel the energy of someone click, investing in those beyond just work related also goes a long way. And then surprise, surprise, something opened up. At the time I was freelancing internationally because I did my own version of Eat, Pray, Love. I took 6 months and I
I
was
love it.
backpacking. And she was like, "This would work. You should come try it." And they took a chance on me. So it's not that 100% of my resume matched 100% of the role, but because she had already known my background, the parts I could apply, and she knew I had a great growth mindset, and obviously I'm eager to learn. I'm obviously to dive in. It just kind of worked out that way. And I've done that continuously ever since, whether I'm looking for a job or I'm not looking for a job. Like if I find someone that I find interesting and I know I can learn from them, I ask if they want to have a cup of coffee and we just take it from there. Again, authenticity is key here, but that's how you make these big pivots is really learning what it's about, seeing if it's a fit from someone's perspective inside in, and then also asking for their genuine advice.
And it's funny because it happens well before you need to. Like I have built relationships. Like there's a couple right now where I'm working some on some personal investment pieces with connections that I made 2018 at this point and never had done business with them, never, whatever. And the second I said, "Hey, I think I'm ready to move on certain, real estate investments," no questions asked, but because we had those relationships, I feel so confident. But, and this is all just to say from both of our stories here, is that take the time to build the relationship, even if you don't know where it's going. Like, I'm sure you sat down with her and you're like, "This is a cool brand. Like, I would even just love to know more about it," rather
Mhm.
than, "I need a job. I'm going to rise to the corporate." Like, you didn't go in with that full focus and intention of that's what you had to get out of that conversation that day.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, when it comes to your role now, what are the ways? Are you still doing LinkedIn? Are you still doing Udemy? How do you further your learning and career now that you're a little further along in your journey?
Yep, I still do LinkedIn learning here and there. I will say it's a little bit harder to find things that are new and surprising
Yeah.
at this stage. So I actually do a lot of outreach like this. Like I know we just talked about it, but I'll reach out to an SVP or someone that recently promoted somewhere else and just pick their brain and learn. One great example I have recently is P&L. I have some P&L experience, but not a hefty amount, and I know the trajectory I want to go is to learn more about P&L. I have this old colleague that I haven't spoken to, maybe not haven't spoken to. We've kept in touch, but we didn't live in the same state. Now I live in New
Mhm.
York. I asked her if I can please get a cup of coffee because I want to understand P&L. And same thing, like I'm learning directly from her and just getting advice. I'm telling you, it goes a long way, especially when you're coming from a place of like earnest curiosity. I think that's one of the best ways to learn.
What are some of the questions? Because I know sometimes, this is something I've struggled with personally of, I want to reach out to this person. I want to maintain this relationship, but I don't know what to say. Like, how do you keep track of certain things, of like what to talk to them about, touch points to have? Like, give me kind of the 411, do people still say that, of building and maintaining those relationships? Because it sounds great to be like, yeah, we keep in touch and this, that, and the other thing, but sometimes we just get in our own head and get stumped by it.
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I had a better answer for this, but I truly don't because the people I connect with are people I had a connection with. I'm not forcing something because I want to be where they are.
Yeah.
We worked together, we crossed paths, and I felt a genuine connection. So it actually just naturally flows. So my advice, honestly, would be to connect with the people you truly feel like they're a friend. You're having genuine conversations, and I know that's not the easy answer, but that's what's worked for me. I actually find traditional networking very challenging and hard and like
Me too.
inauthentic. So it's really challenging. So I feel like just gravitate towards the people that actually feel like they have investment in the growth of other people. And then for me at least, once I picked up on those kind of traits early in my career, I started to notice them further down. So you kind of just start to recognize certain leaders or certain people in the industry you're interested in that are actually interested in development and coaching, and you kind of just pick up on that and you can lean into that.
I love that you said too, you're like traditional networking. I find it so hard, right? You walk in that room, if one more, I mean, this is a very pre-pandemic thing, but like, I don't know if you've ever been to those events where it would almost be like speed dating, but for networking.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh. And I don't think I maintained a single connection from those events because of those relationships. But if you send me to like a wind down Wednesday or, other different, more non-traditional events, we can talk till the end of time and maintain those relationships. Do you also, and I'm curious how you feel when someone's like, "Oh, let me connect you to this person," and how you do you find success in those type of relationships where someone's like, "Oh, you should meet so and so, I'll do an email intro."
I actually do. I really do. And I kind of genuinely love them because someone was thinking about you and they connected you to someone else. And that's also very impactful. Like they know the type of mindset you have and you can learn from them or vice versa. Either they're earlier on your career, they know you're headed in the direction they are. So I actually welcome those. I think, especially for women, women of color, and women with my similar background who did not grow up in corporate America, I'm happy when someone connects me with someone else because at the end of the day, I just want to empower more women. I want the corporate life to be much more diverse and inclusive, and whatever in my small way I can do, to push that forward. Send the intro. Connect us via email. I'm more than happy to do it. Like to me, being a people leader and being a people person first,
Mhm.
is the most important thing in this world, in this corporate world.
Right. And it's interesting too, because I find, and part of the reason I have these coffee chats is because there is such a small circle of being able to talk about corporate, right? And it's,
Yes.
a lot of things are geared towards more so entrepreneurs in that space, but we're trying to build out and see and build community for corporate women. So I'd love to hear too, for somebody like you that's been in so many different corporate settings, where do you see, especially now post-pandemic, the future of corporate careers, especially for women going?
Oh, that is such a great question. And honestly, it's a pretty heavy question. So I can only speak for where I would want it to go.
Mhm.
Um, Diversity of thought up and down the chain is what I want for the future of corporate America, especially post pandemic. I think in the pandemic, there was this research, there was this just surge of DEI and what we can do. And I do feel like we've tapered off a bit.
Mhm.
And something I've always said is DEI in the right way doesn't, it should become ubiquitous. And where it doesn't feel ubiquitous right now is the levels at which we see diversity tends to be manager level or below, but true diversity of thought happens up and down that chain. And it's when you're not, when it should be ubiquitous. Like you shouldn't have to think twice. You just shouldn't have to think twice. Like it should be diverse up and down. It should be diverse vertically. Like you should think about where your PD sits all the way to the end. Especially now that I work in beauty, I'm realizing how important the vertical integration of DEI is in on top of tops down, because product development marketing comes at the very end of the cycle.
Mhm.
Product development, especially in beauty, when you're thinking about shades and tones and undertones, I don't touch that. But if you, by the time it comes to me and I'm medium skin tone and I put, for I'm making up an example, foundation on my face and it doesn't have the right undertones for deeper skin people, like it's too late now, you know?
Right.
So
It's
if
already made.
it's already made, it's been procured, like there's already been all of this work. By the time it comes to me, there's all this work that's already gone to it, which
Hmm.
is why diversity end to end and tops down is so important, is because someone in PD at the very beginning of the chain, if there is diversity of thought, there's diversity up and down, left, right, and center, you can account for these things, and you're having unique perspectives throughout the entire process, and that's what I would want for the future of corporate America. I just I don't want to be the only one in rooms. I want to build a bigger table and have more people in the room. Like I just I think we just need to bring back the energy that we had, because I'm feeling it taper off a bit.
I I'm with you. It's funny too, because being in such a male dominated industry like finance, people are like, "Oh, you just want to be in a room of all women." I'm like, "No, I want to look around and there just be not I not be the only one sitting in this room and everyone assume that I'm the assistant. I want it to be, and no one asked me to go get coffee." And I love the point that you made. I was thinking of it too. It's almost you want to see that DE&I perspective happening at every point in the sales cycle,
Yep,
right?
100%.
And every part of it, from okay, well, someone's skin might react differently to this or have the different undertones, I think is a great example. And it's not just when it comes to you, it's the start of who had the first thought of, hey, let's make a foundation that has blueberries in it or something. I have no idea if that's coming. Don't nobody quote me. I just know they're antioxidant. I'm sure somebody's going to pick that up. And if they do I
I'm
get
sure.
you heard it here first?
Trademark it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go patent that or something.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. One final question. So now that you're further along in your career and you've had so many mentors, are you now stepping into the mentorship role? And what does that look like for you?
I have been, and truly, it's been the most rewarding part of my career thus far. I enjoy it so much. A lot of my mentees are now like my besties. Like I text them about Bravo. It's not just a work relationship.
Yep.
Whatever the latest episode of the Housewives are, we're talking about that. To me, it's really important, and for me, it's almost paying it forward. Like I wouldn't feel good about not giving what I was received.
Mm,
And it's truly meant a lot for me. So whether that means I take an extra 30 minutes in a TB to explain why I made a certain decision, I will give that extra time. Or if you need an extra TB that week because you didn't understand how we got to a certain conclusion, add it to my calendar. I will always make time for the people that want to be coached and that want to learn, because they ultimately probably are going to be my bosses one day, right? Like I want that sort of success for whoever I'm mentoring is I want them to be able to leave my company even smarter than when they came in because I want to see them succeed ultimately and change the wider landscape, not just when they're working directly with me or the company with me, like change the wider landscape that we are all in.
that's beautiful because it also, I think, goes back to what we had just talked about with how do you see, corporate evolve? It's how we shape it and create that footprint and build cultures going forward and communities and support one another rather than having kind of the old mentality that I don't know if you ever heard this in corporate spaces, but I heard it a lot of, well, I had to struggle, so why should I help you?
Yes. Talked about this to my last mentor, that exact line.
Yeah.
I heard, sorry, not mentor, my last mentee, that exact line I heard so much in my early career.
And it's unreal that like it's still being said is the scariest part. And you're like, aren't we over that? Like we have so many resources out there of like education, mentorship, community, and yet some people are still carrying that mindset. I'm like, it doesn't do anything. It does not
No,
to better society.
no, it's probably one of my pet peeves, and
Fair.
honestly, it's a red flag if I hear it at a company. I had to pay my dues, so do they. I don't believe in that. You had to pay your dues, you've gotten here. Wouldn't you want to change so someone else would have to experience the same thing? I totally hear you. I completely agree.
Yeah. It's a hard one to swallow. Well, the actual final question, I hope you're ready for this. This is the question I ask everyone to end their coffee conversation. What is one thing that you do every day that makes you feel wealthy?
Ooh, that makes me feel wealthy. Um, okay, so I call my mom. Oh my gosh, I feel like this will make me sound like a child. I call my mom every single day at 7 p.m. Even if we have nothing to talk about, just hi, how was your day? Da, da, da. Sometimes we'll talk for an hour, sometimes we'll talk for 5 or 10 minutes. And that makes me feel wealthy in a different type of way. Obviously, not in a monetary sort of way, but just makes me feel like my life is full, like I have love in my life, I have a support system. Because you can get lost in the sauce of corporate America and going up the ladder. So just knowing I have that support system, someone I can call every single night, check in, tell about my day, hear about her day, makes me feel good. Makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing, they immigrated to the States, they gave up their home, they did all this stuff for me, and it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing for them by pursuing my dream and then also keeping in touch. Goodness, keeping in touch.
It is the thing that we can't place a monetary value on, and that's so much of what I'm trying to translate is that wealth is beyond the dollars. It's, hey, I made the dollars, so I have the phone, so I get to call my mom and keep that relationship going is such a beautiful thing. And you have such an incredible story. So you thank you so much for being on here, sharing all your wisdom and your story. If anybody wants to connect with you, chat with you, ask you any questions, what is the best way for them to reach you?
You can definitely reach me on my LinkedIn, at Sweety Ghuman. You can also reach out to me on my Instagram if you want. I'm pretty open there too, at SweetyG_.
Perfect. And that will all be linked here in the show notes. Sweetie, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope we make tonight's phone call with your mom and that you tell her all about this.
You'll definitely make the full call lineup tonight.
Perfect. I can't wait. All right. Bye, everyone.